What's up, everybody? It's Friday night. We're in the house. Man, we got some stuff for you, and I got a crew with me tonight. Some new faces, some guys like Joe down there that is here every week, but obviously has a much different background. We won't get into that, but we've got a great show lined up for you tonight. I want to just give a second for everybody. Just hit it around the horn, introduce yourself, tell people where they can find your content, and we're going to get into it.
Yeah, I'm Timmy. I'm Nubs on Twitter, double NBB, formerly of the JWB Fantasy Football crew. Ended up closing shop, but it's always a good time jumping on talking fantasy.
Nice. Joe Frick, thank you for the sweet introduction. Thank you to the people I bought this house from that left a two-car garage worth of stuff, which also included this ring light that I'm using for the show today, so I look extra glamorous. Good to be here. Dad Bod, see you in the chat. Brent, what's going on, guys? Happy to be here. Happy to have some friends on the show. And shout out to the state of Texas for letting Timmy do his thing today. We've had some technical difficulties with Texas the last couple of weeks, but, we figure it out. Shout out to ERCOT. They got it done today.
I didn't recognize you without your Instagram bikini there, Joe, with your little ring cam there. Should have broke it out for us. I'm Dan Mader, host of the Operation Domination podcast, the #1 podcast on Fantasy Football Advice Network. That's right. We can boast that now.
I love the flex, just Dan dropping it in there. We got a couple people popping in the chat already. Dad Bod here. Hey, guys, what's up? Brent Bradford, let's go. Thanks for tuning in, folks. Look, we're going to start off tonight with the rumor mill, okay? And I know there's lots of stuff going on, but, there's some like that, is just nonsense. And so I'm going to start out with this first one. And I saw a tweet the other day. Joe, you actually sent it over to me. And Travis Hunter said that if he did not go to an NFL team that would allow him to play both sides of the football, that he wouldn't play. Timmy, are you buying that?
I think he's smarter than that. I think he's smart enough to know he should cash in on that NFL contract, no matter how much money he's made in school. So I'm not buying it.
What about you, Dan? Are you in?
Always remember, if you ain't first, you're last.
That's what Travis Hunter thinks. If you're not first, you're last. I got to do it all or nothing at all. No, of course not. Of course he's playing the NFL no matter what they do with him.
I know, right? It's like when you get that paycheck, like if he goes 2 overall to the Browns, which is the current projection, he goes 2 overall and he's going to get that fat contract. Is he going to sit in that room and say, you know what? I'm going to refuse to take this money if you don't play me on both sides of the football. No, he's going to be like, he's going to take the money and he's going to do what they want him to do. And maybe he's going to get a couple packages here or there where he gets to, do something a little bit different, but we're not buying it. Nobody's buying that. Like, you're going to play in the NFL. You're going to get a top paid rookie contract. You have so much going on that it's absolutely bonkers that you wouldn't actually play. Well, I know he's got his bass fishing YouTube channel.
That's right.
And he's got, all of his other things that he does. So maybe he doesn't need the money. But I think that the football thing is a passion for him as well. So I just don't think you walk away from that.
Here's the better question. When his rookie contract is up and the teams are trying to negotiate and they're talking about franchise tag, what do you think he calls himself then? A wide receiver or a corner? More money in the wide receiver. I'm just saying.
That's a fair point. Who knows? We got Dad Bob popping in. He's dropping us a question. He says, should I trade Drake London for Jacoby Meyer and Kenneth Walker? Dynasty, Superflex, PPR. Joe, let us know. What do you think? Is Jacoby Meyer and Kenneth Walker enough?
So, it's an interesting trade. Jacoby Meyer, underrated player with the emergence of Geno Smith coming to Las Vegas. They have a competent offense of sorts. Obviously, the offense is going to run through Brock Bowers and whoever they decide to take at running back, because it's not going to be the International Hall of Mid that they have today servicing their backfield. But Jacoby Myers, he's somebody that's pretty solid under the radar. I don't like trading young wide receiver talent for running backs and somebody that's 28, 29. So for me, it's a pass. I think London has shown that he can be a wide receiver one. It's probably a fair trade, but it's not something that I would be after.
Yeah, me either. So, Timmy, I'm going to throw you another doozy here.
Mhm.
So, word has it that the Patriots are really interested in attaining AJ Brown, which is a really confusing thing for me because I remember a moment at which AJ Brown was very happily playing for Mike Vrabel in Tennessee and, just wanted a nice, receiver contract worthy of the production that he was putting out. And then, all of a sudden the draft comes and AJ Brown goes bye-bye. He wasn't cared about. And then there's this narrative that pops up today that's like, okay, Vrabel really likes AJ Brown, and he really wanted AJ Brown to be on his team. So the Patriots are willing to give whatever to get a AJ Brown Drake May connection. Are you buying it? Was it really the Tennessee GM that said no, we don't want AJ Brown, and Vrabel was left with a pouty face? And he really wanted to keep AJ Brown, or is this just a narrative people are trying to cook up before the draft?
See, that's something I'd like to know more about because per the friends of mine that I have that are Tennessee fans, they didn't like the way Vrabel ran his offense anyway. So is he even going to maximize the AJ Brown usage if he gets him? So I think that's something to think about because maybe there is rumors that it was just the GM that didn't like him and Vrabel never had any problems with AJ Brown and they're going to just feed him the football because he would be their best weapon on offense. But I think it's a lot. It's kind of mucked up at this point because a team so young as the Patriots, I'm not sure why they'd want to go in on an AJ Brown at his age and where the team's actually at developmentally. So I think I'm probably leaning out of that rumor, but I wouldn't be surprised if it got legs. But it's a lot of talk for a really top, like high end first round pick.
I think the most interesting portion of like the AJ Brown, why you would want him to go to the Patriots, he's a very affordable contract. His cap hit in 2025 is going to be $17 million, $23 million in 2026. There's an out there for the 2027 year, but up until 2029, I mean, he's only getting paid $29 million, which that's only going to be 7% of the current cap, and you're expecting the cap to continue to rise. So for the quality of player that he is, I can see why Philly would want to get younger and try to clear out some of the cap space, but they're not really moving too much. He's on a very affordable deal right now, especially with the way that Chase reset the market this offseason. T. Higgins, a wide receiver too. He's commanding $30 million. So maybe the Eagles know that he's going to want that new contract and not get it. But I don't think it is as crazy as you think. I would love to have AJ Brown. I'll take the proven talent. Obviously, like you said, he's 28 this year, something to worry about, but you got Drake May, like go get it done.
I think it's a little bit interesting too that the ROI would be like the Eagles trading 16 or 19 to the Treylon pick and then getting 4 years later. They win another trade like they did with the Saints when they stole an extra first round pick.
It's like the red paperclip game where you try to like become like a millionaire just like trading a paperclip.
Mm-hmm.
It is interesting from that standpoint. The only thing I think that story has any truth to it whatsoever is the part where it was very clear when it happened that Mike Vrabel was upset. There was multiple reports about that, how he was upset when AJ Brown got traded away from the Titans. So I do think there's truth that Vrabel, maybe he would love AJ Brown. I think there's very little truth to the idea that the Eagles are really interested in trading AJ Brown, not just for the affordable contract, but this has been the go-to guy for Jalen Hurts. When they need a big play, they hit A.J. Brown. Devonta Smith's a really nice wide receiver, really nice compliment. He works for the A.J. Brown. And honestly, I don't want to see A.J. Brown in a Josh McDaniels offense. I don't want to see him on 3-yard slants all day long. Like, please don't let that happen.
I know, right? So I'm gonna make sure we hit these questions in the chat. So back to this one, London for Jacob Meyer, Kenneth Walker. I don't hate it. It's fine deal. Jacob Meyer doesn't really have anybody. The Kenneth Walker thing, I think Drake London's the best asset.
Yes.
Rusty in the chat. Hey, thanks for tuning in.
Graphic goat.
Paul, I'm not going to pretend to say that the right way. Hello, one quarterback PPR traded the 106 for Breece Hall. Was this a good move, even though Hall has risk? I also have the 1-3 and the 1-9. Dan, what are your thoughts?
Got a lot of thoughts on this one. First of all, we'll take it to the base action, right? Breece Hall for the 106. I think that's fair value. I think Breece Hall is somebody that I would like to have on my team. You have to be willing to suck it up for a year, because if they don't trade him this season, they already talk about doing a committee. But Breece Hall, whether he's traded now, moving on from next year, him getting away from the Jets will boost his value later on. So I'm all about having Breece Hall on my team. On the flip side, you have one of the best running back classes you could possibly draft from this season. So if you want Breece Hall, has ACL issues in the past, and you have the opportunity 103, 106, 109, what you had before, you could have gotten a lot of good running backs for that too. So I think it's a fair offer, but you're going to have to be willing to suck it up for a year. Like, I don't think you're going to win that deal 2025 unless the Jets actually do move on from Breece Hall this season.
That's a fair enough take. Anybody else on that one?
It's just crazy how volatile running backs are. Like, if you would have done this last year, you would have been laughed at. And now everybody's in a panic about Breece Hall, and it's interesting to see just in dynasty wide receivers, pretty stable assets. They have a down year. Like, you're like, okay, like, let me look at the age curve kind of set. Running backs, it's just wild, wild west. I agree with what Dan said, though. I think the Jets, it's just a scary proposition. The one benefit that you have if he does stay on the Jets, if Justin Fields isn't throwing to Garrett Wilson, he's probably dumping off to Breece Hall.
That's fair enough.
I like it because I think we're missing out on it being one QB, because I think this first round in terms of depth changes a little bit when it comes to just the overall round, because you're at least taking out 2, maybe 3 players in terms of the quarterback position from the first round. And that really kind of drops the level of player that's going to be at the 106. Like in Superflex, I have like the 107 is like a tier break besides like the 101. So we're kind of looking at like the 104 as being the tier break if you're including 3 quarterbacks there, maybe 105. So I think unless someone takes someone that you're expecting to be, or leave someone on the board that you're expecting to be gone, you're probably dropping off from a talent level there anyway.
But I'll add this, Timmy, too. I mean, keep in mind, Breece Hall came in the league really young. He's still only 23 years old right now, which is just as young as the majority of the running backs coming out in this draft class.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, like the Breece Hall side on this for sure, though.
Yeah, I don't mind it too, because you have the 1-3 and the 1-9, so you're going to lock up one of the top 3. Like, you're probably not going to get Genty. You have a good shot of Amari and Hampton, or you have a good shot at the top talent that adds at the most. You know, like if a Travion Henderson or Quinshon Judkins lands for the Raiders, right, or something like that, where they're instantly going to get work. They land in New England, where Vrabels likes to run the ball, like where they land somewhere where they can have instant equity, then, you definitely feel better about it as well, because you're going to be able to stack, even at the 1-3, if you trade the 1-6 for Breece Hall, and let's say at the 1-3, you don't want to get one of those guys, like you're easily looking at the top wide receiver in the draft, or you can get you could still get a very significant. I mean, you look at the guys that went 1-9 last year, and I know this year's draft class is not last year's rookie draft class when it comes to wide receiver, but Brian Thomas Jr. 1-9, Lad McConkey like 1-10, 1-11, like there was people there that can definitely change a team, so I don't hate the trade. And it's rookie season. I can tell you this, one of my favorite things to do, and then we'll move on to the next thing. One of my favorite things to do in dynasty season is to fleece people at draft time when they're so excited to make a pick. They're just like, oh, I just got to have this player right now. And so you end up getting, like, if this trade happens at draft night, hear me out. If this trade happens during your dynasty draft, I think that 1-6 brings you Breece Hall and probably something along the lines of like a Breece Hall and Devontae Adams, or like a Breece Hall and Mike Evans. Like, you probably actually pull that for the 1-6 pick on draft night.
Who are you playing dynasty leagues with?
Dude, it's true. Just think of it. Think of the trades that you've seen happen during the draft. It's always something that you go, what the heck were they thinking? Right? Like, it's like, but it's just that it's that high, right? Like, people get excited to draft. I've done it. Like, I mean, I've had it in the third round. I'm like, oh, there's a player I really like here. So I'm trying to figure out a way to get picked like 3-6. And somebody's like, hey, I'll take this person. I'm like,
Burks.
yeah, no. But they're like, there's no way I can trade somebody like that, trade that player. But I've pulled, like, I got George Kittle for like the 3-6 like a year ago, in a draft because somebody had a player they wanted to pick there, and I'm like, cool, I'll take George Kittle. I don't care if he only plays half the season; it'll be a great half of the season, and then I have Evan Ingram for the other half of the season. And we lost. Whoa, I don't know what just happened. Joe left and everything falls apart. Way to go, Joe.
Joe, you're the glue.
You hated your trade so much.
I know they hated my take that much. The take shut the show down. If you're watching, I'm sorry. I'll keep it a little bit more light going forward.
And we haven't even gotten to the hot takes. This is scary times.
Well, hold on, Tyler, I did want to add one thing. To your point about people, like, it's rookie season, they want to get into the drafts. This is something I've been doing, especially in the dynasty leagues where I'm in the rebuild part of that. If you have all these extra picks, like I have one dynasty league where I have like 11 picks. And what I started doing actually was trading off to guys who've had like zero, like a fourth rounder, they have nothing else, offering thirds for next year's seconds, offering fours for next year thirds. And a lot of these deals are going through. And I think those are tangible moves that you can actually be making and pulling off because people want to get into this year's draft. Make sure you're loaded, not just this year, but next year too.
Can I add something to that?
Sure.
Because I love that take, because I'm in a league where I took over a really bad team like 3 or 4 years ago, and I've just been collecting picks. Like, I have, going into this draft, I think I had like 16, and like 6 of them were first rounders, and I have 6 first rounders next year, and I have 3 in 27.
Jesus.
I have a lot of early seconds. Offer your early seconds to teams without picks for their 27 first, because a few reasons. They have to hit on those picks. If they don't hit on those picks, their team isn't better. Their team's only going to age out 2 more years, and then you're going to have their 27 first. So if you have to offer 201 and 208 or 203 and 208 or something like that, that might be worth it to you. If you're at a surplus of picks and you don't like what's on the board, or you don't like what the range is going to be that's on the board, and you can just lock up another first round pick that you just sit on, and like the picks you traded away, you're not even worried about because you're not even thinking about them because you didn't want to use them anyway.
And as it stands today, just in case anybody doesn't know, 2027 looking like it's going to be a really, really strong draft class. 26 is going to be a next level up from this year. 27 is going to be another level up. So that's the year you really want to have some draft picks coming in.
Yeah, I'm of the belief that anything after the second round doesn't matter.
Yeah, I mean, this is great takes. Grimer coming in. What's up, crew? Too much fantasy football. Love that. I agree, Dan. And it is an oversight, the racking up of picks that happens. I have won so many times on that, where even I trade somebody that's projected to have a late first round pick, right? But then they have an injury or something happens. Some player lays an egg. And then all of a sudden, the player that the pick that I was getting that was projected like 111, 112 ends up being 1-3. And I'm sitting in the draft like real happy, so you can never, like, those picks, though they may have a projection, like anytime you can upgrade for the future, especially for somebody that's anxious to get in, is definitely a win. Let's see. And coming back in, he said trading current late picks for higher futures that Dan brought up is what he was talking about. All right. So moving forward, let's pull this up here. So I asked before the show, we wanted to prepare a few hot takes. These are calls on the season, on players that nobody else sees, like things that you might get called crazy for. So, Dadbot, I'm glad you're tuned in because you're about to get the juice. All right. And we're just gonna decide if it's worth the squeeze, right? I guess, I don't know. So I'm gonna start off with Dan. Dan, I want you to let us know. Give us something hot. Give us something juicy. What's your big hot take going into 2025?
This is for the draft or for Which one was it? Sorry, I was getting lost on the outline.
This could be for the draft. This could be anything. Just your player, that something that nobody else is thinking about that could impact their 2025 season, and they can prepare for it even now.
Okay, so I had two listed here. I'm going to go with the one that I think is going to get everybody all riled up. And remember, this is hot takes. All right. Jaden Daniels will not finish in the top 8 at the quarterback this upcoming season for fantasy.
All right. How do we get everybody off the show again?
That's gross. It's so gross. Keep going. Keep going.
All right. So here's the deal. When I look at Jaden Daniels, he is the version of RG3 that didn't blow his knee in the playoffs. Like, think about it. Like, we would have been talking about RG3 the same exact way we're talking about Jaden Daniels. It didn't change the fact that he continued to get hurt later in his career because he's a very lanky body. Didn't change the fact that he does not have great pocket awareness because, he had 20% pressure to sack ratio. That didn't disappear. Now, what happened is, and to Kingsbury's credit, he tailor-made an offense, and this is kind of up Kingsbury's alley of what he wants to do anyway, but is getting the ball out of his hands fast, right? He was the 4th fastest time to throw. He was middle of the pack in air yards. It was 7.63 air yards per attempt. Everything was short. It's all about yards after the catch. Get it out, get it going. What that does is that it limits the amount of post-snap reads you have to make. Everything's pre-snap, predetermined. When teams start to squeeze, what did the Eagles do in the playoffs? They squeezed them. Jaden Daniels had 4.69 air yards per attempt in that playoff game. They just squeezed the hell out of him, forced him to make post-snap reads. I don't think Jaden Daniels still sees the entire of the field. And I think the Commanders in general are going to take a little bit of a step back. Teams that will usually overplay their hand in one year, even if they get better on paper, tend to regress the following season. But that's for a different conversation. Here's another thing about Daniels. If he can't run, he's not fantasy relevant. And with his lanky body, I get concerned about the injuries. Remember 4 weeks, 8, 9, 10, 11. He had those bruised ribs. He was quarterback 21 during that stretch. He only had one 300-yard performance the entire season long. This isn't a prolific passer. Don't give me Deebo Samuel. Deebo Samuel's done, okay? All the triple baconators he's been eating is eating himself right out of it. He's done. He's toast.
Triple baconators.
Why the shot at the baconator? That's what I want to know.
Oh, that's so.
It's a hot take.
It's so hot. It's so hot. It's spicy. I'm struggling. Look here. Okay, Dad. It's not that I'm going to bite back. I believe in the second-year regression. Okay, I do believe that Washington has to give him protection. I think they'll do that in the draft. Here's the thing, and this is my thing with Daniels. It's because I watched him so much in college. I've talked about it on the show. I watched Arkansas blow a 3-touchdown lead because Jaden Daniels comes in at halftime and just obliterates them. He's a winner. Like, he's a gamer. He's that guy like Mahomes hobbling on one leg, throwing a pass, half lounge sideways, just to get the ball down the field. Jaden Daniels will play through whatever injury. And productivity, that does a point. Like you said, bruised ribs, it affected his gameplay. I totally agree. But the difference is, and we see it so often, great quarterbacks will elevate teams. And Jaden Daniels took a team that was garbage and elevated them in year one. So if the argument is top 8, if he's outside of the top 8, is that possible? Yes. But in my opinion, that is only possible barring injury. If he stays healthy, there's no way.
A lot of people thought that about Kyler Murray, and then you get towards the end of Kingsbury's tenure there, they started squeezing the offense, and all of a sudden he's QB 10 without an.
Kyler Murray is a pouty, Kyler Murray's Kyler Murray's got that Bo Callahan syndrome, right? He gets sacked 3 times, and then all of a sudden he just quits on his team, and he gets all spastic and can't get it done, or he starts running all the time, or he goes sits on the sideline and he just pouts because he's not getting to do his thing. That's different. Jaden Daniels.
Last I checked, VR headsets don't have Call of Duty on it, so he should be safe.
Yeah. I'm all right. Kyler Murray is not the comp, but I don't think. Go ahead, Timmy. Break it up.
I got to jump in here because I'm a Jaden Daniels supporter, and I don't think you can base. I think you can do your best to protect your teams against injury. But I don't think that you want to play that way, because I think that hurts your overall ceiling. Also, Jaden Daniels, it took him till week 3 on a drive that ended in a field goal for them to let him throw a ball that was deeper than a dump off, or a run that was in between the tackles. And then it took into another 6 weeks. I think week 3 was against the Bengals. I think week 9 was against the Ravens. That it was up until the end of the half did they allow him to throw the ball deeper. So I think that the playbook opens up for more opportunities for them to score touchdowns in the red zone, because what was it? It was like 5 field goals to week 1, or 4 field goals week 1, 3 week 2, I think 3 week 3. So I think there's a lot more touchdown upside in this offense than people want to give credit for, as well as Daniels has shown his chops and his ability to read defenses. I think the issue was there was some development shortages when it came to like how he started, because he wasn't looking backside a lot of the play, and the backside receiver was actually winning a lot of the time. That stuff gets cleaned up in film. You have another weapon in Debo, and I think he can really dissect the defense more when he has more actual downfield threats.
Also, that game against the Eagles, he had 23 fantasy points, by the way.
Well, the second half. Look at the first half and the second
I
half.
don't care. Blake Bortles carried me to a championship as the garbage time king.
I get it.
Blake Bortles.
The other thing I'll add too is that was a playoff
Hold
game.
on.
How much does that really help you DFS?
Joe goes off the stream talking about Blake Bortles. No more Joe for Blake Bortles. No, just kidding.
Pray for Joe's internet.
Gosh. Reaching in the depths in that one. All right. So,
shout out Allen Robinson.
Yeah, it's great. Go out in the chat. What's happening? All thanks for tuning in, man. Enjoying. I think it all bars injury. I think that Jaden Daniels, and even like to your point with the dump offs or the air yards, they got another player that's like a catch in the slot, like run after the catch in Debo. Like, granted,
did you watch Debo last year?
I did watch Debo last year, and it's fine. Baconators
he did good before he got pneumonia.
Like, Baconators can still have relevance in football. Okay, like
he just has to wipe his hands off. He won't drop those balls.
You just got to do light mayo.
I mean, Jaden Daniels was doing it with Noah Brown. Like, he was making Noah Brown relevant again. And everybody's like, is Noah Brown somebody I should roster? No, Noah Brown's not somebody you should ever roster. But in Jaden Daniels throwing the ball, sure, you should roster him. That's where everybody was at. So, anyways, love that. Anytime that you got the chat talking about I disagree, then we're hitting it. It's a good one. You're bringing the heat. Thank you, Dan. All right, Timmy. Drop it. What's hot for you tonight?
So I prepped mine based on the draft, and I'm terrible at making hot takes for the draft because I just either have player takes or I don't. So I was thinking about how do I want to go about this way, and I was like, let's do a running back one. So I kind of combined 2 of them. The first one I would say with the running back is that if I'm being hot about this, I think this class is really deep. Now I do think that there are going to be some misses. There are going to be some scheme mismatches, like teams draft the wrong player in terms of fit and in terms of their skill set. But I think if I'm going hot, I'm going to say 3 or 4 running backs drafted in 3rd round ADP of rookie fantasy rookie drafts are going to be top 24 running backs at some point during the season when it comes to injury, maybe on a points per game basis, maybe on actually a total points scored basis. I'm making it hot because you asked for it hot. I would probably go with a little less players, but I do think that this class is deep enough to continue to take shots at the running back position through the 3rd, maybe in the 4th round.
I like it. When in doubt, draft a running back this year. I think last year you saw the depth in the wide receivers, and even if you had a late round first, like everything struck the gold. This year it's going to be the same way with the running backs. Just if you can't rid yourself of picks or you're trying to do something you have excess, make it happen. There's so much good talent this year.
I mean, you got people in the chat, Dadbot talking about Skattebo, Rusty saying RJ Harvey, baby, Greinberg, take the shots at running back. It is a deep class, and we see it. Look, even Goyati, Dylan Sampson, the spin move. I agree. Dylan Sampson is one of those late value guys that could have a huge potential, and this class is full of it. And it feels like the running back class. And Timmy, so I'm agreeing with your take. Like, there's relevancy all the way through.
I got one other thing I want to add to it too. You can go ahead after this. Sorry.
Yeah. No, you're good. You're good. I'm excited for it. But at the run, like it's like we're hitting the changing of the guard in the running backs in the NFL. Like everybody that we followed for like the last 5 years is like fading out, right? And
Except for Derrick Henry.
Yeah, except for Derrick Henry because he spends $250,000 a year making sure his body's in great shape. But no, also he doesn't run sideways. It's just straightforward. He's a train. He just gets the ball and he runs forward. And so you can't arm tackle him. It's good. He can keep doing it. It's not like Todd Gurley where he breaks his knee because he's trying to do a sidestep that he can't do anymore. But with the running back position, we're seeing so many players fade out, or so many players like Aaron Jones that are projected to lead a team's running back room and is obviously at the end. You got Alvin Kamara fading. You got all these guys that have been good for so long that are on their way out. And then you get a class like this, right? Like a class that's just loaded up. And you're like, there's so many teams. There's so many teams, even if it's like we saw it a few years ago with James Robinson, right? Like a running back who played at a no-name school, was okay, kind of like that Frank Gore, like I'm a bowling ball type guy. And then we're seeing him lead in fantasy, right? Just because he got the opportunity. And there's so many guys in this draft that just could get enough of an opportunity to establish relevance. So when you're talking about your third and fourth, yeah, I love the call on just grab somebody late, like because you don't know. It's similar with tight end, I feel like, but running back definitely this year. Go ahead, Dan.
Well, I was going to say right now, and I don't know this will stay true once we get through the draft because I'd be surprised this player went this late. But if you play like, and I do, I have dynasty leagues where we have 5 rounds. And if you're playing one of those right now, a rookie mock draft, you can get a guy like Bashal Tutin to fall to you in the 5th round as of this moment. Now, that might change post-draft. We'll have to see what his draft capital is going to wind up being. But to your point, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are running backs everywhere. DJ Giddens is going in the 4th round right now in rookie mock drafts. Plenty of talent everywhere.
The other thing I wanted to say is that this class is funky when it comes to grinder backs. There aren't that many. And I think my other hot take is going to be, regardless of what you think of him, Ollie Gordon's NFL draft position is going to surprise you. And either could be that he gets drafted really high or he gets drafted really late. So it could be he's a 2nd round pick because some team really likes him as a grinder, or he's really late because he's not. What is this one specific thing that he does really well? And I don't really think we can identify that.
I think Ollie Gordon has been one of the largest fallers. Like coming in, it was a lot of hype. And I think through the draft process, he has fallen, which could be a win. I'm personally kind of like you. I'm not really sure how he wins. Like I don't know what he does that is the separator. And Dan, I know you've been watching, and is there a separator for him amongst this draft class that makes him like a hands down, he can do this better than anybody else?
No, so I'll paint a picture for you. I comped him to Jerome Ford, where you can do a little bit of everything, just enough to be a really high quality handcuff back, but you don't have anything. You don't have the burst. You can catch, but you can't really make linebackers and safeties miss consistently because he doesn't have the elusive hips that you're necessarily looking for a great receiving back. You have some power, but you don't have, Najee Harris type power. So he falls into that mixture of I could do a little bit of everything. That makes it for the perfect handcuff back, but it's not somebody who's going to win and start consistently. Again, it just reminds you so much of Jerome Ford.
I'm buying that. I think he's a big, obviously bigger. I think Jerome Ford has a little bit better sideways movement, but I feel that. I think that the high quality handcuff is probably pretty close. Yeah, no, love both of those, Timmy. What you got for us tonight, Joe?
All right, so I think despite this high profile running back class, I think that there is one running back that I could not run further away from, and I could probably run faster than him based on what I saw from his 40 time, and that is Mr. Kam Skattebo. I do not see it from this guy. I don't like the attitude that he has. I don't like the way that he plays the game. My prediction for you is that he's going to have 3rd round draft capital, and not only is he not going to be relevant in 2025, but he is never going to have fantasy relevance in the NFL.
You guys all my take was hot. Damn.
I don't hate it. I'm not in on the Skattebo. Like to me, it's this like weird thing where it's like, you might get a little bit of Peyton Hillis, maybe, but then not really. Or, like there's not any like I see him more. Like I see him get in the NFL. I see him putting on some weight. And I see him playing the Kyle Juszczyk role somewhere. You know what I mean? That feels like a better thing for him. Like he's what running? Okay, you're shaking your head, Dan. I'm open. I'm open to conversation.
He's a bigger Austin Eckler.
Say what?
He's a bigger Austin Eckler. He has the same type of contact balance, the same type of receiving acumen, makes guys miss constantly, has a great burst. Because I think that's what people are overlooking. You get wrapped up in the 40. How often is a running back really running 70 yards down the field? It's not that often. You want that burst to the line of scrimmage between that 5 and 7 yards. That's what he does fantastically. He's a bigger Austin Eckler. That's why I don't understand.
But he can't move like Eckler.
Did you watch last year?
I did watch last year. And I mean, you see it right here. Like, he's like, oh, he almost single-handedly beat UT Austin.
Yeah.
Like,
no, not
congratulations.
He put a whole team on the back of the playoffs.
You just talked about Jaden Daniels being a second-half player. He got completely shut down.
That was Arizona State. He's Arizona State. Oh, Arizona State caliber offensive line, an Arizona State caliber quarterback, an Arizona State caliber wide receivers. That was Kam Skattebo. Making everybody miss. Like, I don't understand.
I love getting you so riled up. You hit like that third tier of pitch in your voice where it's like,
I'm trying to belt.
Look, it's okay. I'm getting some hate. Obviously, Dad Bod is with you. He's like, he's an amazing mover. What the heck are you talking about? Sure, I'll take it. I'm just not buying.
I like that you're getting hate for my take.
Yeah, it's okay. I'm with it. I'll take the hate. Bring the hate. I'm always for it. At the end of the day, when my dynasty draft hits and Kam Skattebo has like a second round pedigree of where you have to draft them, I'm not in.
He's currently listed as RB27 on Keep Trade Cut, which Timmy and I were talking before the show. Keep Trade Cut isn't really like Bible by any means, but RB27 is very steep. To me, that's crazy. I would take a veteran over somebody that would want to go and draft Kam Skattebo.
Look, at the end of the day, this is what we know. Dan has a new fan. Dan has found a new fan that loves his takes on both Daniels and Skattebo, and he is here for it. So, Dan, congratulations. I love it. At least you're willing to die by your own sword or whatever they want to call it. It's.
Yeah, you might as well just tell them now what day of the week your show is, so they can make sure that they're there for it.
So we record Wednesday night. We drop the episode every Thursday morning for the podcast version. The video goes out over the weekend, Fridays and Saturdays, typically speaking. So it's all throughout the week. You can't miss Operation Domination on your favorite podcast app.
You're the best. You're the best. All right, so Dan, dude, you're on a run. You're on a tear right now. I gotta hear your second hot take.
Oh, hold on. Let me go back to my other note. So it's Ricky Pearsall finishes as a top 12 wide receiver this upcoming year. So I think a lot of people right now, Juwan Jennings is ahead of them as far as ADP goes. And Juwan Jennings is a nice player, nice role player. He is not the next, I don't know, Jerry Rice, whatever they're trying to make him out to be, because he had the really nice performances for Brandon Ayuk last year. Ricky Pearsall, we all know, the adversity he had to go through in the beginning of the season to get back on the field. Got that done. And then towards the end of the season, showed flashes, right? He had 18 targets the last 2 weeks. He finished as the wide receiver 5 over those last 2 weeks. Not a big sample size, obviously, but I'm just kind of pointing it out there. He popped. And it didn't take away from Jennings, who had 20 targets between the combine of those 2 games. So the point kind of there being like, Pearsall can still get his, even if Jennings is involved. We don't know when Brandon Ayuk's exactly to come back. Maybe he's healthy by September. Maybe he's back to his old self or some form of it by late season. But I'm not too confident about that. Last year, the guy was completely healthy. He missed his training camp, missed his OTAs, Look what production he was putting out there before he even got the ACL. The other thing about Ricky Pearsall is that he's going to take the Debo role. Now, I don't mean the Debo role as far as the wide back is concerned. I mean the Debo role as far as the flanker type slot receiver in motion, king. That's the role he's going to take. So whether Brandon Ayuk's out there or Juwan Jennings replacing him, the one guy who's going to be in his situation from week 1 throughout the season, barring injury, is Ricky Pearsall. And that position, that Debo role as a receiver, just as a receiver, except for 2023, outproduced Brandon Ayuk or whoever the X-wide receiver was for the San Francisco 49ers. That was the featured weapon. So I think Ricky Pearsall is going to be a guy you take later on who's going to have top 12 potential this season.
Yeah, it's really interesting seeing just the way that there's so much murkiness in that wide receiver room. Right now on Underdog, Ricky Pearsall, wide receiver 39. To your point, Juwan Jennings is at wide receiver 35. So there's definitely a lot of room and value there. Somebody's going to pop off. I like that one. We're on the same page there. Do I think it's top 12? That feels kind of steep, but I mean, are you going to bet against Kyle Shanahan? Probably not.
Well, and one
Not
thing
in the regular season.
Yeah. Sorry, Timmy. One more thing I just had to add, and then we'll get over to Timmy there. They have, if not the easiest schedule, one of the easiest schedules. They get to play the AFC South, the NFC South. The one team from the NFC East they get to play is the Giants. The one team from the AFC North they get to play is the Browns. Like, they have a cake schedule the whole way through. It sets up perfectly for fantasy points. Sorry, Timmy, go ahead.
No, you're good. I was just making a joke about Kyle. I like where you're going with it. I think top 12 is steep, but we're talking hot takes. And I think Jennings has proven he's capable of handling a load, but that does not mean he's going to consistently get a load.
So Dan, in this realm, I'm actually on board. Like I'm gonna get on the train. I'm gonna toot the horn with you, choo choo, whatever. I am with it. You know, Ricky Pearsall it took him a minute to get involved, but you look at his last 2 games this season against Detroit, 29 fantasy points. He had, what was it, like 10 target, 8 receptions, 141 yards and a touchdown. You know, then you follow that up against Arizona the next week. He has 6 catches, 69 yards and a touchdown. Like, they obviously want to use him. They want to get him involved. He can play. And the reality is, what's Ricky Pearsall costing you? Like right now, if you were to go trade for him in your dynasty leagues, you're probably getting them for, especially during draft, a 3rd round pick if somebody's trying to get to who they want. Sure. You might get, I mean, even if I have to pay like a late 2nd, I'm in, right?
Last time I keep trade cut, it was a 205. It was somewhere in that range for Ricky Pearsall right now.
205 seems about right for what the projection is, but even then,
on the rise a little bit. The even would be, it's like a late 1st at this point.
But in like, especially like in best ball formats or like, you know, in your redraft drafting now, like there with the rookies infiltrating the draft, like he's fallen. I mean, you're probably getting him late, you know? So I love that take. I love the opportunity there for him. I think that team's, you know, obviously going to be thirsty for some weapons at the receiving game. And, you know, Purdy is one of those guys. He's going to lean on who he's comfortable with. At the end of the day, he's going to lean on who he's comfortable with. At the end of the season, he started getting comfortable with Pearsall. And if they start out any kind of bit strong in the beginning of the season, you'll see it all season long. Like I said, it just hopefully they both stay healthy. But speaking of that, that's going to move us to our next segment of the shows. And you guys in the chat, if you're in, hit the like, hit the sub. We are going to talk buy, sell, holds. These are the players that, you know, are really, and if you have guys that on your dynasty's team that are really like you're perplexed on, you're like, you know, I'm really debating on this player. I don't know if it's time to sell him, if I need to hold him one more year, you know, what's my best value? Drop them in the chat. We're happy to hit them, and we're going to hit some of the ones that, you know, everybody's already kind of talking about. So that being said, we're going to start off, and I'm going to pull one off Joe's list. Saquon Barkley. Okay. The question is buy, sell, hold. And the reason that he's there is like, obviously we saw probably one of his best seasons last year. Comes in for the Eagles. We get electric running back. You know, we get what we hope to see. We get him not getting injured like he's been all through a lot of his career. We get the Saquon that we wanted, right? But you also have Saquon. Not that he's old, but he's played for a while. He's dealt with a lot of injuries, and I watched Saquon go for two first rounders, AJ Brown. AJ Brown and 2 first rounders. I watched that trade happen this week. So obviously the value is high on him. So at this point, and that's what you kind of have to entertain on a sell point, is he going to be lucrative enough to win you a championship this year that you have to hold him? Or is the value high enough or higher than it's ever been enough for you to deal him if you can? And I know obviously roster conversation and build always comes into this conversation, but we're just gonna pretend that you have a level roster and you're talking about the player evaluation. Where are you at right now? Buy, sell, hold on Saquon.
As somebody who held on to Christian McCaffrey a year too long, I'd probably be looking to make a move unless I feel pretty confident about my chances in winning a championship. I think a deal where you're getting AJ Brown plus 2 firsts, like that's not even a question. Like that's an easy trade. We just talked about Breece Hall, who was at one point last year RB1 in Dynasty. All of a sudden you're getting a 106 for him. So there's a lot of things that can change really quickly. I think the positive on the Eagles is that offensive line is maybe the best in football, and they're not losing really any major pieces. They did lose Becton to the Chargers, but you expect them to be able to kind of make up for that. I expect them to be able to fill that void. But for me, it's just like from an asset management, he's 28 years old. I don't really worry about the health thing. I think that you can't really control for that stuff. So it's, if I have a chance to win, you play to win the game. I don't play to collect picks. I don't play for future years. It's like I want to win every year. I wouldn't be looking to buy him. If I'm looking to buy, I would do it at the deadline. I would pay up at the deadline, assuming and seeing how things shake out. But if I have an opportunity to trade him for pretty much like the 101 or say like a nice package like you were mentioning, I would jump on it.
Interesting, and I don't know, Timmy, Dan, you're free to jump in. Just hit the hand raise if you have something really hot here. It's almost to me, and I deal with this with McCaffrey. I have a ton of McCaffrey shares, and like it's like some players, it's like their value is like with McCaffrey, like you have injury, you have this, you have that may deter value, but you realize what he's capable of. And there's few players where I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna keep this player on my roster till they die and leave the league. Like this is my what they call your ride or die. You know what I mean? And
yeah.
And Saquon is almost worth that. Like he's almost like the reality is he could have 2, potentially I would say 2, depending on how he takes care of himself, even longer, but at least 2 more seasons like that. I mean, I think the Eagles used him well. I don't think he had to carry their offense, which is what he was having to do with the Giants, which is why he was always banged up. So, a player like that could give you RB 1 through 5 potential any given year, week, day to day, period. It's like you almost just want to keep that player and keep them rolling, unless somebody is willing to give you a massive overpay. But even then, like if you're looking at it and you're like, okay, somebody will give me the 1-3 for Saquon. Are you selling Saquon for the 1-3? Like if you can get Omarion Hampton or something at the 1-3 and he goes, let's say he goes to the Steelers, is that worth giving up Saquon, or are you still hanging to Saquon?
Don't please. Did we not learn our lesson from Najee Harris? We are not ready to draft. We do not have the luxury to be drafting a running back in the first round.
I'm just talking. Okay, I'm just throwing plausibles out there that create context for the conversation. Okay,
there's a guy called Arthur Smith on your sideline now, so
I know.
Roll it out. But the only thing I was going to add to this, and you got to make sure you get back the proper value, right? If you're going to sell Saquon, you're obviously selling him at an all-time high. Make sure you get your high package. But what I will say is this: in the last, I think it's 16 years now, there's only one running back who's been able to duplicate that his same RB1 performance when he's had 400 touches or more. And when you add in the playoffs, Barkley had 400 touches. That player was LaDainian Tomlinson. Everybody else, Derrick Henry, Christian McCaffrey, you name it, they either wound up getting injured the following season or saw super dips in their efficiencies. So from that historical data point, I do get a little bit concerned about what Saquon Barkley might do moving into next year. And this is somebody who dealt with a lot of lower leg extremity injuries with his time in the Giants. It was not inconceivable here. Obviously, make sure you get your package for him. I'm not saying just sell him off willy-nilly, but that is something I am actually concerned about.
I like that, Dan. I like that a lot. To run with history is a really good move because you're looking at someone that would have to break the paradigm completely to like continue on. But I will make this argument that if you are looking for extreme upside, the most ultimate upside you can get, it's Saquon. Obviously, you have to make sure you're paying the right price for him. But if you're going to try to win a league, there's really no better option. And we can't go in worrying about injuries. But if I'm getting 2 firsts in AJ Brown, he's gone. He's just off my team. The same thing can be said, though, about the 101. If you're getting, let's say, 103 a first and like a Bryce Young, like how likely is a GT ever going to be worth that much? Like is in terms of let's say Bryce Young's a first. How often is the outcome of a Genti gonna be worth 3 firsts and one of them being 103 or something like that?
Yeah.
Like
I love that.
That's an argument you have to make.
I freaking love Dynasty. I love the projected values. I love the freaking general manager like pretending that happens where we're like trying to like get the most value out of each player. We're trying to buy low and sell high and build a team. I watched both Draft Day and Moneyball last night, and I was like super pumped about this freaking show. I'm like the guy that played Madden and I didn't play any of the games. I just built teams. It's like it's I freaking love it. Dynasty is one of the best things that ever happened to fantasy. So we're gonna keep rolling and Go Yachty has got a good one because it's a very debatable person. And I know Joe's sitting there with a lot of Steelers animosity built in there. But before we hit Najee, we have to hit frame fiction. Buy, sell, hold, real fast, cheesy gordita crunch.
Buy.
I'm selling. Give me the Doritos Locos taco and a 5-layer burrito, baby. I don't got time for that.
I'm buying it all the way. I got time to do doors.
I'm just sad there's like $6 now by themselves when they used to be like $2.
You used to be able to get a soft taco for 86 cents. Like, what happened?
Oh, inflation. Anyway, so Najee.
The world happened, Joe.
So you said Becton is now going to be blocking for Najee. Najee's in a totally new offense, in an offense that we saw J.K. Dobbins be very serviceable last season, minus when he was hurt. Where are we at on Najee? Is it a buy, sell, hold? And really, is the narrative big enough on Najee's potential probability to be electric enough to get you creditable value in a trade, right? Like as far as like if you're selling him, or do you just hold him and hope for like a solid first 6 weeks and then sell him? Or are we saying Najee is the dude, he's going to produce for you for the next couple years here, on this team? Where are we at? Dan, hit us off.
I'm selling him because right now you can kind of sell him for a 2nd-round pick, and that's where a lot of these premium running backs are going. And I think the narrative's big enough where you could probably get 205 or maybe even a little bit earlier than that to all the things you just talked about, Tyler. I mean, like the offensive line's there. He's in the right system, right? He's got a chance to actually maybe be efficient for once in his life. But the Chargers are going to draft a running back. And if Greg Roman's proven anything, he'll play 2 running backs. So, like, they only signed him to a 1-year deal. It was $9 million, so he's going to play. Like, he's going to obviously be involved, but it's still only a 1-year deal. They did not sign him to necessarily be the long-term answer unless he completely just pops off, which I don't think happens because they're going to draft a running back in this class. I'm not saying it's going to be the first round, but at some point. So that's what I would be concerned about. And I wouldn't wait for that to happen to sell him. Like, I don't think his value is necessarily going to get a lot greater than what it is right now, even if he starts off the season strong, because I'm going to bet they're going to spend a second or third round pick on one of these running backs that's going to play a significant amount of time. So I'd sell him.
So really, and you're trying to sell him now. You're trying to sell him pre-NFL draft.
Yeah, I think his value is higher now than it would be later.
Well, if you're watching, you better get in your sleeper app or your ESPN app now and start working. What about you, Timmy? Where you at?
See, my feeling on Najee has always been it depends on the price. I bought him for $209 like a year and a half ago, and I think $205 is like an adequate value, especially him being the starter in with the Chargers. No, like a second round pick for a starting running back that has the potential, in my opinion. I think Najee's points should be really focused on his touchdowns. Yes, whatever else he gives us is kind of extra, but he does in a 2-touchdown game, he does give you the opportunity to hit 20 points. And for a second round pick, that's pretty good. And in my opinion, the way I've evaluated players so far, I have like a 14 player, like first 14 players I have in a different group than the rest. So for me, 205 is really a negligible pick unless like players fall into really great landing spots where I'd rather trade 205 back and get multiple thirds and take 2 running backs there. But I don't really hate giving up 205 to secure a Najee Harris in a Chargers offense. I think should be pretty good next year, but I also understand the risks to that. But in the same way, it's kind of where I'm framing where I have my player evaluations anyway already there, and 205 is kind of a dead spot for me.
Well, I think it's kind of what makes it like the right value, right? You know what I mean? Like you kind of see it either way at that spot. So if you can get more than that, fantastic. But yeah, I mean, look, I was super excited about it at first until I started thinking more about it. I was like, they're going to draft somebody else. It's going to be someone high, and it's Greg Roman, and it's going to be like a 35-40 to 50-60 split. And it's like, oh, it's going to be so annoying. But I'm with you. Like, the Chargers offense should be really good this year. And
you know what this reminds me of? James Conner in Arizona. And everybody was like, oh, man, they drafted Trey Benson. Like, it's the end of James Conner. They're going to do all this stuff. I'm buying Najee. I love Najee Harris. He has never missed a game. He is the only player in history to have 1,000 yards each of the 4 seasons. Availability is your best friend in the running back position because he is going to have pole position in that room. Will they maybe add a second running back? But he's not going to let anybody else get on the field because he doesn't get hurt. So for me, the biggest concern, and Dan pointed this out, being that it's a 1-year deal, he's in a great situation this year. He could be playing for the Jets next year. Like, it could get ugly really fast. So that's kind of the risk that I see. I'm not worried about a rookie come in and usurping, even if he's in a timeshare. We've seen him in a timeshare already, and he's put up 1,000 yards every time. So to me, it's like I would buy at the 205. I would probably be willing to go up to probably like an early 2 if I had to. But I feel good about Najee. I would probably wait until after the draft, to the same point that Dan's saying, hey, like, do it now. When they draft that running back, and everybody's like, oh, man, like, I can't believe it.
Skattebo in the 4th.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, here you go. Here's this random guy that I drafted in the 3rd round that I can't even pronounce their name. You can have him. And it's like, okay, cool.
Here's one thing I'll add. If Najee Harris can get back to catching the ball consistently, then throw out everything I said. So from that standpoint, because Justin Herbert has a history of throwing it to the running back, and he's been missing that since his rookie year because, well, Jalen Warren had to take over that kind of role. You know what I mean? So like, he has that acumen. It's just going to depend on who they draft. Like, I'm really worried they take like a Caleb Johnson or something like that. Like, I'm really.
You shouldn't be worried then.
Yeah, exactly.
Caleb Johnson's not very good.
Oh, God. That's going to strike some chords. There it is. Hot take. Hot take. Waiting for hot takes.
Ooh. I will trade you Kam Skattebo for Caleb Johnson. Straight up.
Wait, where have I owned Kam Skattebo to make a trade with you?
I have him. I'm trading him to you for Caleb Johnson.
Oh.
All right. No, I
don't know about that.
Like it.
Make that offer to Tyler.
And a crunch wrap.
You know what? I might trade you Skattebo for a crunch wrap. I'm in.
Just give him a Traylon Burks signed jersey. He'll give you whatever you want.
Collusion. Okay, so moving off Najee, I like the talk. You know, obviously there's a little bit of play here. If I can get something high for Najee, I mean, he's 27 years old, and not that age is a huge defining factor for running backs or anything like that. But, you know, like you said, he's had good production. I don't know if we'll see. Like, to me, he's a big we'll see. And, like, I do believe after the draft, if they draft a running back, his value definitely declines on what you can get out of him. I mean, when everybody's drafting Jaylen Warren over Najee the previous year, which was a thing in half of leagues at least, what's going to happen if they go and they take somebody that can actually compete for that role, right? So I think in that route, Dan's right. It's kind of that risk, like you either hold your cards and hope for the big push, because if they wait till like round 6 or 7 to take somebody, Najee's value obviously then increases even more. So maybe that what would have been a 2-4 or a 2-5 this year during this draft ends up being a 1 something next year if they don't take anybody that can compete. It's just kind of the risks you play. But I mean, we're going to move on to another player. We've only got, we've got very little bit more time. So I want to hit at least 2 more. So we have to kind of make these takes quick here. But there were some really good ones dumped off. And one of the big ones for me was Chris Olave. Chris Olave came in as a superior talent. We've seen him perform at high levels. There's the quarterback conundrum that has existed for New Orleans for so long now. And even now, there's all the stuff that they're saying, oh, Derek Carr's shoulder, elbow, whatever, maybe shot. And we're wondering if we're going to see Spencer Rattler or Shadur Sanders this year at quarterback for the Saints. And so what does that do for your Olave shares? Like, obviously, the talent may be there, but is the position there? And is his value really right now too low to even try to sell? Where are we at on Chris Olave?
Who'd you want to take it?
No, I see the fact that it was silent for a good second means it's a good question. So where are we at? Go ahead and hit us off, Dan.
Well, I actually had him listed as one of my buys. Right now, he's got a lot of bad narratives, right? You have the concerns about the concussion, which is real. Like, he's had multiple concussions. That is something you have to think about. But now you also have the whole fiasco with, what's going to happen with Derek Carr. He's having shoulder injury. He's going to miss the season. He's not going to miss the season. If he does miss the season, who's the quarterback situation? This kind of reminds me, like, earlier in the show when I was talking about, like, the Breece Hall trade, how I said, like, it may not work out this year, but it's going to work out the year after. That's how I feel about Chris Olave. Even if it doesn't work this year, it's going to work the year after. Kellen Moore features his wide receiver 1, Mari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb, A.J. Brown, Keenan Allen, all had fantastic years with Kellen Moore. That's what he does. And what I'm really excited about is, what did he do with all those receivers? He let him play the slot and the X. He actually let him move them around. Chris Olave, could you imagine if the guy got to move around on the formation? See my frustration, of him only having to play the perimeter constantly for no reason, one of the best route runners, and this guy gets stuck.
Not be able to catch overthrown balls that are out of bounds.
Yeah, exactly. Like, so
bring the heat. I'm enjoying the energy. Keep it coming.
So my point being is that it may not get better this year, but I am going to buy him for 2026. That's mostly my game plan, especially now.
Yeah, I like the move. I trust the talent. I think if you are somebody that's looking to move off of Chris Olave, we talked earlier about how the 2027 draft class is looking to be a good one. You might be able to sneak a first out of that draft class. So if it's like, hey, like, I'm selling off, I think like the injury stuff is too scary for me. It's like, go shoot for the future. Go out and try to make something happen. And like, it's probably going to be more of a tear down situation that you're going to do that. But yeah, I think even with a bad quarterback, you only need just a couple passes to go your way to be fantasy relevant if you are going to be the alpha in that offense. So it doesn't scare me all that much.
I think it's team dependent. Now, I think Chris Olave is a great player, and I think I would like him on all of my teams. But let's say, and I think you can also use the frame of the concussion history as a way to try to discount the purchase price. But if I am sending out a majority of my assets that I can use to change my roster up to get a Chris Olave to make him my wide receiver 3 and a start 3, and I don't have any bench players and he can get hurt. And it ends up hurting me in the long run where I don't have my future picks, my team's worse for the season, and I don't have a way to cash in because I don't have my picks anymore. That's a situation I'm not happy about. If I'm buying Chris Olave, I want him to be a maybe my wide receiver 4, maybe just in the way I'm thinking about it, maybe my wide receiver 5, where I'm not depending on him. But if he works out, I'm shoving him right back in that lineup and I'm enjoying, the crap out of him. I don't want to be dependent on him week to week until we see him healthy for multiple weeks in a row.
It's all about value, baby. It's all about value.
I like him. Look, Olave equals diet Drake London. It is like sometimes when you have a high talent player, like I won't go there. Never mind. When you have a high talent player,
were you going to say Treylon Burks?
No, maybe. When you have a high talent player whose value has just like hit rock bottom because of situation, sometimes you just believe in the talent and you just go get the talent. Like the reality is they're never going to be cheaper. Like Olave is never going to be cheaper than what he is right now. Like he's got bum quarterback syndrome. He's got Spencer Rattler looking to potentially start, and nobody's paying attention to the Kellen Moore take that you just talked about, Dan. So it's like, you're never going to get him cheaper than what you can get him right now. And especially if they do anything at the quarterback position, even if it's not this year, even if it's next year, like even if they go this year and they're like, we're going to play with whoever and we're going to tank for Arch or whatever next season so we can get the other Arch Manning, and keep the legacy going. Sure, whatever. But you got to buy on the player, and that's what we're trying. Olave is obviously a talent. His value's low. Take advantage of it. That's what we're kind of summing up here. So I want to really hit one more like strong fringe player. This is a very debatable player amongst drafts. Obviously, really high evaluation, but the situation really got better in theory. But where are we at? 2025, buy, sell, hold, Devon Achane. Because I can tell you, underdog, everything else has him really high. And obviously his significant competition for touches is now out. The question is, obviously, has always been in a Mike McDaniel offense, can we keep a running back healthy for the season? Or are there's even the argument of, do you sell Achane knowing that there may be a better running back sitting right behind Achane waiting for an opportunity? I don't know. Just a little.
You talking about Alexander Madison?
No, not talking about. Not by any means am I talking about.
I was going to say Jalen Wright, but Timmy, yours was much more funnier. I'm glad you said that.
Yeah, I was just talking about Jalen Wright. But bring the heat. I mean, where are we at? Where are we at on Achane? I mean, because I think right now, if you're trading for him, he's probably demanding like a first round pedigree.
Yeah, I don't think you can buy him, right? I mean, the question is, can you sell him or do you want to hold him? And to me, I want to hold him. Like the guy had a crazy amount of targets last year. That's not going to change. Like, I don't know if Mike McDaniel gets back to his roots or not of actually, you can throw the ball past the line of scrimmage once in a while, maybe. But with that offensive line, you might not be able to. And I think that was the whole reason why they did what they did. The combination of worrying about Tua concussions, talked about that with Olave, and that offensive line just not being good. And, we'll see what they do in the draft, but they have a long way to go to piece that thing back together. So while Achane, was with half of his efficiency as far as a running game, but he gets all his volume in the passing game. And unless you're giving me Genty plus another couple of first rounders, like, I don't know if you're going to make that deal. So I think I'm just holding him. Like, if you have Achane, he's the perfect age. He gets the work in the area that you want him to, which is in targets. And he's on an offense that wants to feature the hell out of him. It doesn't get much better than that.
I think I want to sell. And the reason why...
Just direct opposite, just immediately. I think I want to sell.
The reason why, and I think Dan has talked a little bit about why there is some protection against this, being that he is a pass catcher, is that there is a strong correlation between running back performance in fantasy football and the quality of team that they play for. So if you play for a team that wins, you're going to be a running back that's going to do more because you're going to be on the field more. They're not going to be passing the ball to play catch up. Like there's just a positive correlation between the teams with a winning record and the running back position in fantasy. It is what it is. Now, I don't think the Dolphins are going to be very good. Tyreek Hill is aged out. Tua, we don't really know what's going on with him anymore. So for me, it's like if I'm looking at the values that you can get, if I can trade Achane for, say, Garrett Wilson, sign me up for that all day. That's the current keep trade cut value is Garrett Wilson, the 104, 105 in Superflex. So in a draft where you have depth at the running back position, I can still draft my Achane replacement. If I have a need for a wide receiver, let me go get an alpha wide receiver that's young. And I feel like, to me, that's going to be a net win. So I think he's at a peak value, RB5. I get that he's only 23. I get that he's the prominent role in the offense. But I don't know. I just don't see it long term. And like I said, running back year over year is just so volatile. The Dolphins seem like they're trending down. So even if he is going to be the featured the running back in that offense, I don't know if I want a part of that for the next couple of years.
Whew, it's so tough. 23-year-old RB5, second year in the league. He finishes RB5 over 1,400, almost 1,500 all-purpose yards. Oh, it's so difficult. What if you trade him away? If you sell him, what do you get? Like, what's worth it? I mean, like he finishes like he did last year, RB5 with somebody else in the running back room. Not to say that Mike McDaniel won't use other people, but what's the price? If you have Achane and you're selling him, what are you trying to get? What's enough? What do you think, Timmy?
Well, Frick is speaking to my soul, okay? Because I love trading running backs for wide receivers. But I think Achane is one of the only like 5 or 6 running backs that truly actually matter. I understand that, not counting rookies, but like a lot of the other ones are kind of interchangeable, and like Achane's one that kind of stands apart. So if I'm trying to win, I'm probably not selling him. But if I'm selling him, I definitely want to try to shift into kind of the similar tier wide receiver, where I have Achane in one of the top 2 or 3 tiers, depending on how they kind of fall, but he's top 6 for me. So I'd want to try to fall into that top 10, top 6 type of wide receiver if I'm making that transition. Even though the window might be considered shorter, I can sell on what would be considered a very high ceiling for the running back.
But if Keep Trade Cut has him at 1.4 evaluate, Garrett Wilson 1.4, 1.5, are you trading Achane for the 1.4? Like, is there
absolutely not? Absolutely not.
I would want a proven player because you already can see what he can do at the running back position. So it's like that's why I would go like in the receiver direction. Because it's like, all right, like I'm getting a proven player at another position to kind of rethrow the lottery pick. It's just like, all right, well, if you trade him and then the guy that you pick up is a bust, well, then you're trading him hoping that he can return the value for the running back you already have.
Well, let's make this real relative to right now because the draft's coming up, right? Timmy, would you trade? Let's say this is post-draft and Genty goes to the Raiders. Would you trade Devon Achane for Genty in that scenario?
I probably would. I think the scenario really matters, but like I have to realize how good Achane has been, but also I have to realize how good Genty could be as well. But I don't think there's any other running back I would go straight up for in this class whatsoever for. And I'm not trading Tet for him. I mean, I'm keeping him over Tet. So
agreed.
Gilliardi said, "Night, gents. I'm buying the A train before his Austin Eckler type season streaks start." That's my question. I almost wonder, and this is because in my leagues, at least, I haven't heard enough of a churning on Achane. So like I'm thinking during draft, if I'm sitting at the 1.7, the 1.9 maybe, that might be enough to buy Achane. Would you do it? Like if you're sitting at that pick, are you buying?
I would do it.
Mm-hmm.
So there you have it. guys, if you're during the draft and you have somebody messaging you and they're trying to get your 1.7, they're trying to get your 1.10, your 1.9, whatever, buy. Trav says Achane feels fickle from a long-term perspective. I don't disagree with that, but at the current state, he's 23 years old. He just finished, so his rookie season, RB 24. Last season, RB 5. 1,500 all-purpose, 12 touchdowns. That's the kind of production you're looking for. And even if they do bring some, or even if Jalen Wright starts to do Jalen Wright things and everything that we hope he can be, at that point, it's still a question mark of, what's the value and does it really matter? And so if you can get Achane late, especially like a late first rounder, or even if you have somebody that's trying to get rid of him and you can get him an early second, deal. That seems to be the consensus. But if you can get Genty at the 1-1 and he goes to a team that's relevant, maybe you don't. Where we're at. So anyways, it is 15 minutes past the hour, and I agree with Trav. Jalen Wright is going to be dope this year. I'm really excited about that. Jalen Wright is a deep buy. You could probably get him for a 4th-round pick unless somebody thinks that they know their stuff, and then they're probably holding. But if you get somebody sleeping, you might just win your league, especially because, again, in what season ever has Mike McDaniel been able to keep a healthy running back room?
Last year.
No, his main running back was injured all season. It's like he can't keep San Francisco. We saw multiple running backs grace the starting role presence because they couldn't keep people healthy. It's his thing. I don't know what it is about him. I don't know what he does is exactly that separates him, but he cannot keep his running back room healthy. They end up going with whoever at the end of the season. Achane was the trend breaker last season, as really I think the first running back that I know of to make it through a full season off the top of my head in a Mike McDaniel offense. But anyways.
Don't blame him for Elijah Mitchell, okay? That's not.
Oh, I do blame him. Elijah, there was what's that last season in San Francisco? They went through 6 guys.
It's like the Browns quarterback jersey. It's like injured running backs under Mike McDaniels, and it just has all the names.
Dear Lord, bless him. No, look, it is again 18 minutes past the hour. Thank you so much for tuning in. Every week is an absolute blast from the forum, 9:00 Central Time. And what a crew in tonight. Dan, Timmy, Joe, always a pleasure. Just real quick before we tune out, let them know where they can find you, maybe where they can find you on Twitter, or they can follow your content before we tune out. Hit it.
Who do you want to go
Timmy,
first?
you can start us off. It's okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm Nubs on Twitter, _N_B. You can reach out if you have any questions. DMs are open. And I'm not making content anywhere else at this point, so that's where I'll be. That's where you can find me.
Joey Joefrk on Twitter. You can find me Joey Hustle on Reddit. Always slanging in them streets, even though Tyler hates it. But yeah, we're holding the content wherever you need it. You can find me on the Fantasy Football Advice Network as well. Always lurking in the chat there too.
Yep, Dan Mater at Dan Mater FF, Operation Domination on your favorite podcast app, all on the Fantasy Football Advice Network, all the time.
That voice is.
I really got to work on my radio voice.
I know,
it's so silky smooth.
I gotta look. I was literally thinking about last night. I was like, man, I gotta deliver these words with more enunciation. I gotta raise and lower my voice. I gotta bring the energy. That is, especially when we be on a show with Dan Mater. The voice of angels when it comes to podcast hosts. Now, seriously, thank you guys for tuning in. It's always a pleasure. We'll see you next week, 9:00 Central Time from the forum. Have a good night and good luck in your drafts. We out.
We are here. FantasySportsAdvice.com, offering the best fantasy sports social media platform. Why join endless Discord communities or the trolls of Reddit? Fantasy Sports Advice is a community designed to help you win with 24/7 support. Go to fantasysportsadvice.com and become a pro member for unlimited access. Again, go to fantasysportsadvice.com